45 minutes. We would never finish. So what we did was we created a system, and we had 3 workers, and we actually mapped, and you can see in the instructional example, there's maps. The cleaning company used systems to map out where the workers had to go, and then we designed the instruction for what they had to do when they got there. And that was how we solved this problem. So there are 3 workers here, and this is an example that I want to show you. They're going to clean the men's washroom. This is a 20-minute cycle. In the beginning, they all start at the door. Everybody has their own colors, right? So this, to give you an example of how we had to teach them, I had T-shirts shipped over of the different colors. And the workers wore them in the washroom as we were training them, so that everybody could understand, could see this picture in their heads. Okay, so they started here. The first worker, the green worker, vacuumed up all the floor, vacuumed the debris. The blue worker started cleaning the toilets and the stalls, and the orange worker started cleaning the urinals. Then the green worker started cleaning the mirrors, the towel dispensers, the sinks, countertops. Blue worker still doing toilets and stalls. Orange worker moves and starts in on toilets and stalls when he's finished with the urinals. In stage 4, the green worker is out cleaning, they call it the water cooler, we call it the drinking fountain. That was interesting, coming up with common language that they used, not necessarily what we used. The orange worker is mopping the floor, and the blue worker is finishing up the toilets and the stalls. And they end their 20-minute session. We trained them to do this in 19 minutes and 30 seconds. It was incredible, and this is how we trained them. If you look at the instruction, the first thing we did was we had 2 facilitators with 3 workers. The first facilitator said the directive in English very slowly. The second facilitator modeled the behavior, actually did it. Then, second time, we gave them those job aids. We gave them the visuals, the pictures. They did it, and the facilitator corrected whatever they were not doing correctly. Then the third time, we took the instruction, and they had to go ahead and perform the tasks. They wanted to do it right so badly that they did it right. And it was through modeling the performance, through pictures, through colors, through simple statements. The most important thing, I think, other than the modeling and their motivation, was the transfer from what they actually had to do and what they saw. The pictures in there were so close that it helped that learning gap tremendously. Okay, so this is where then we had an evaluation form where we evaluated them 3 times. The biggest challenges we had were, number 1, the equipment. Some of the equipment wasn't there, or they ran out because of getting through customs and everything. Also, we had a constraint in the mall itself because it was still under construction. So we had alarms going off that they were testing, and we were training them in the actual work environment because we knew that was the best place to train them. And the last thing was, of course, the language barrier. But we seemed to overcome it through their motivation and through a lot of the graphics. So we had 320 operatives that were educated doing this system, and we had an 82.3% pass rate. When it all was said and done, it was such a flurry of activity. We went back 3 weeks post. We did not give them any reinforcement other than all of those things plastered in the buses and plastered in all of the storage rooms. So if they were cleaning a washroom and went to the washroom storage room, they could look and see all of the instruction there to help reinforce and remind them. We went back, and 3 weeks post, they were doing the exact same steps. They didn't deviate from it. It was incredible to us. And that was with no reinforcement. This is our worker, how we saw him, how we met him. This is an example of our worker when we finished. And I have to tell you a very little story about this gentleman. He was from India. He learned how to use that backpack vacuum cleaner. He was so proud that he could use that, and he did it effectively, and he got praise from us, he worked a 12-hour shift, and during his break, he would not take the vacuum cleaner off. He was afraid that if he took it off, somebody would take it and use it, and he wouldn't be able to get it back. And we kept telling him, it's okay, you can take it off, it'll be right here. He would sit and eat his meal with the vacuum cleaner on. Okay. What ended up happening was we were there August of 2008, all of October. What happened in October 2008? We had a huge economic crash. It did not affect Dubai until January 2009. I mean, it affected them, believe me, it affected them, but we didn't get the ripple effect until January 2009. And basically what happened was I was there all of October through the second week of November. I came back. I went back for 2 weeks in December. I came back and went back in January. When I flew in January, expatriates were driving to the airport, taping their credit cards, their keys to their condos, to the mirrors of their rented, leased cars, and taking one-way planes back home. The unskilled laborers were there for 2 years. They couldn't go anywhere. So there was no supervision of the expatriates, that management level. They were leaving. So it was the unskilled laborers and the unskilled laborer supervisors that really had to pick this up. And they did it. They were doing it. I was shocked to see what I saw in January. We went back in May, and they were still doing it. I haven't been back since May of 2009. A colleague of mine from Grubb & Ellis has been back and said the mall is beautiful, and they're still doing those procedures. So it was pretty interesting. But now I'm happy to answer questions. This is the article. Oh, thank you. This is the article. If you're interested in going, it is an interactive article. This is what it looks like, obviously. But if you're interested in going and taking a look at it, you're more than welcome to do so. That's the journal. Can I answer any questions?
My first question is, have you seen this mall? I mean, people, it's such a huge mall. Is there people go there? I mean,
Tons of people. What happens is, and I learned so much about the United Arab Emirates, much of it, if you think about us, we vacation somewhere warm, where do we go? California, Florida, wherever. People from Russia, people from Australia, people from the United Kingdom, they don't have to come here anymore. They can go there. It's an 8-hour flight from Amsterdam to Dubai. So we were impressed and amazed at the amount of tourism, individuals coming into Dubai. Also, people bought condominiums, properties, homes. They would use them as vacation rentals, and they were coming in and going out. I could not believe. I kept saying, there is no recession. Where's the recession? Because the mall was jammed. And they have since opened a number of hotels, restaurants in this particular area of Dubai. Yeah?
I think one of my questions would be, why would they have to hire someone from overseas and not someone, I can't say locally,
Right.
okay, but somewhat locally?
Right. In the Middle East, one of the things I learned, it is all about relationships. And the cleaning company who was in charge of bringing the workers in was the brother-in-law of one of the CEOs of Emaar Properties. He was not trained to teach unskilled laborers, but he was the company we had to work with, and that's the way it is, and that's the way it is, and we were okay with that. But the relationship between Emaar and Grubb & Ellis was years deep, very strong, and for them, money wasn't the issue. So what was the most important thing? To have someone you could trust, to have the relationship. So why not go to America? Because you can. I mean, the one constraint we didn't have was money. That was the one, which I'll never have a project like that again in my entire life. I mean, I